please let's welcome Jamak. Jamak, the mic is all yours today.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Good afternoon, everybody. I am happy to see you here. This is a smaller group of people today, and that actually makes me happy because video is one of those things that no matter how much we talk about it, people have limitations or limiting mindsets. I don't know. There are different reasons people don't do video, and I would love to dig into personal reasons why we don't do video for the people who are present. So we're going to try and run through the content of this relatively quickly today, and then I'm hoping that we'll open it up for more of a personal, intimate session, kind of Q&A style, and we'll leave the outcome to our powerful video editor, Ray, to deal with it after the fact. Whatever is evergreen, he'll keep it. Whatever is useless, he'll throw it out. And we're very, very excited to have the opportunity to have him on the team and have that. He has been doing that contribution for a long time. So the disclaimer, as I always do at the beginning of these things, this series is not intended to be the all-in-one solution for you to do your digital marketing. It's supposed to provide a 30,000-foot view of it, enough for you to have a roadmap, enough for you to understand where to go, enough for you to be able to go do more research, take more courses, and understand how to do things. If you're a business owner, it would enable you, it would allow you to hire the right contractors, hopefully, and make sure that the contractors are not overcharging you or telling you things that do not necessarily make any sense. So that's the intent of this thing. We've done many of them. I believe this is the 8th one, if I'm not mistaken. The most recent ones that we've done have been client, this is the 9th one, thank you. The most recent ones that we've done have been doing the client avatar, which was a very, very important session. And then we did content creation, which kind of uses the client avatar session to build upon it. If you've done the client avatar session and you've gone through the content creation strategies, this session makes a lot of sense because now you're at a point where you're going, okay, I know what to do. I know what would work. How do I put the content together? If you haven't had an opportunity to watch the previous ones, please go and watch them. If you don't have time, at least watch those 2 that I just alluded to. That way this makes more sense and allows you to go on and make nice videos that actually work rather than just videos to fill a YouTube channel or whatever the case may be. You want the videos to have some sort of a function. I've divided this session into 5 sections. These 5 sections are not very, they're kind of, they overlap with each other and hopefully are not very extensive. I'm not planning to go into any of them extensively because that would take a lot of time. So the very first one is creation. Then the second one is editing. Editing includes some tools that are introduced. I'll introduce to you. Hopefully you'll find some of them beneficial. Again, depending on what the reason is that you're not producing videos, the tools may or may not be helpful. We'll see. And then the third one naturally is publication. So now that you have your video, how do you publish? How do you publish it? Where do you publish it? What do you do with it? The fourth one is promotion. Once your video has been published, you need to promote it, right? Otherwise, it's useless. What are you going to do? It just sits there and nobody watches it. And then the fifth one is kind of it seems it's like an ongoing thing, ongoing theme that I've always discussed with those of you who've been following this series is experimentation, right? What works, what doesn't work. So it's the idea of analytics and adjusting the game plan and moving forward from there. And then we'll jump into some Q&A and hopefully personal strategies and deal with some personal problems in terms of video and content creation that people have. So let's dive in. The first item is creation, as I talked about. There are many, many different ways of creating videos. I will share with you what my favorite is. And because of the audience, because of who I'm talking to, I suspect that will end up being your favorite too, because you're all Toastmasters. However, there are other ways of doing it as well, right? So my personal favorite way of creating a video is just like this, the way we're doing it today, right? Either doing it in a session where you teach other people and you record the video, even if it's just one other person. It is so much easier to have someone sitting there on the other side as you explain things to them than not. And the second favorite is the not part that I just talked about. It's you turn on the camera and you speak to the camera, you look into the camera and you do it. If you're a Toastmaster, if you're a speaker, if you're a coach, that might be a little bit difficult for you, but it's not that far out of the comfort zone. It's right there. It's just one little leap you have to take and practice. There are tricks that you learn after you do it for a while. The most important one being you have to look through their lens. Don't look at the camera, look through the lens as if you understand the other person, as if you're looking at the other person that's sitting on the other side of the camera. You will see the difference if you practice it. You'll see the difference between looking at the camera and looking through the lens. I can't describe it. You'll feel it. It is a connection type of feeling. It's as if the audience that don't feel that necessarily that connection with you if you don't do that. After a while, it should become pretty simple for you to do that, to just turn on the camera, hit record, go on and teach, and then stop. Think of it as, a 5 to 7 minute speech that you always do for Toastmasters. You sit in front of the camera and you do that. And having been in this virtual world for a year now, should have made that even easier, right? Because we should be able to do that, right? One of the things that we are discussing, we're talking about it in our advanced club. Might as well plug it here, Inspirational Speakers, Advanced Toastmasters, is creation of videos. Why shouldn't we be able to create videos as speeches and have people evaluate those things? And I think that is a skill that is missing, and it could be added. Just the face to camera type of speaking where there isn't an audience. You have to kind of visualize an audience. You have to think an audience is there, and you have to go through it. So my suggestion is, if you're doing the face to camera one, and you're just you and the camera, visualize the person, visualize your client avatar, the person you build when you were doing your client avatar exercise. Visualize that person sitting there. That's who you're talking to. So whatever tone of voice you use when you do that, whatever type of words that you use when you do that, whatever speed of speaking you use when you do that, those are the things that you should be employing in order for your video to be more effective. So it reflects your client avatar, and that's why I said you should go back and view that. When we talk about creation, and if you choose to do it the way I just discussed, I suggest that you have an intro for yourself. And I don't mean a video intro, although that could be helpful. That helps with branding when you use the same sort of intro and outro for your videos. That could be good. It is good for branding, but it might be difficult to accomplish if you don't have the video editing chops, right? If you're just a newbie and you're doing this, I want to give you a formula that you use to have an effective intro for every single one of your videos. So you, instead of necessarily recording a clip and editing that clip into your videos all the time, because that takes more time, what I suggest is you develop this little script, if you will. It doesn't have to be, extensive. And you say that at the top of every single video that you do. So I am going to give you the formula of what works for speakers, coaches, consultants, because that's sort of what this series is about. And then we can extend it to a Toastmasters club as well and experiment with that a little bit. So the intro is your introduction basically and what you do, but this format is something that I was taught by one of the people that I studied and I think works very well. Is you basically say I am, you followed by your name, and I help, and then you state who your audience is by whatever it is that you do. Right? So that's the method of helping, right? So if I was to do it for this audience, for example, I would say I am Jamak. I help coaches, speakers by through digital marketing, for example, right? If this was the intent of this, right? But then you have to have the achieve goal as well, right? So I missed that part. I apologize for that. So I help coaches, speakers, consultants get to a bigger audience through digital marketing by leveraging the internet, whatever that may be. Does that make sense? So if you think about that formula, like when we go, maybe we go into a break or a QA or something, we can play with some examples of that. But basically, it's that sort of formula of explaining what you do, who you do it for, and how you do it in one sort of phrase or in a sentence or two. And that's repeated so often, you do it so often that you've completely memorized it, right? So whether you think about, like, if extending this to a Toastmasters club, maybe your Toastmasters club has developed a mission statement, a vision statement, a tagline of some sorts that can be used in this sentence, right? So your Toastmasters club maybe has a specific audience that it caters to, right? Let's say you are you would like to have project managers in your Toastmasters club, right? We have clubs like that that only cater to project managers. So you would say we are PMI Toastmasters. We help project managers develop their presentation skills by giving them fantastic evaluations. Does that make sense? You see the pieces that goes into that formula to make that work. That is the reason it is very difficult to do stuff like this if you haven't done the client avatar work, if you don't know what's unique about you, if you don't know the unique selling proposition of your entity, whether it's a business or it's just a person. So you got to have those things in play. But my suggestion is develop that. That way, when you turn on the camera, you don't have to think about that. That is always the first thing that comes out. It takes 10 seconds, 15 seconds, 20 seconds, whatever it takes, you lay that out. And then you say, in this particular video, we're going to be talking about whatever it is you're going to talk about, right? So then basically right after that introduction will be what's going to be in the video. And then you run with it, right? You run with the content. And then there's obviously a call to action at the end, right? What do you want them to do? So that's very important. You must know what you want them to do after they've listened to that video, they watch that video. And what I mean by that is not necessarily what action you want them to take in their life, although that's very important. What I mean by that is in terms of the digital marketing aspect of things, what would you like them to do? Would you like them to fill out a form? Would you like them to join a webinar? Would you like them to join a mailing list? What would you like them? Would you like them to subscribe to your channel? Whatever it is, that call to action needs to be at the very end. And you have to be very descriptive about why you're asking them to do that, right? So you ask them to join a mailing list. Why? Is it to get maybe your newsletter once a month that is packed full of the type of content that they just listened to? Is it a video series that they would that they would receive that is along the lines of, again, what they just listened to? Is it a continuation of whatever content you just produced? Whatever it is, that needs to be known, and you need to know exactly where you're going with that. So in my personal experience, most of sort of quote unquote experts that know their content do not really need any notes. They can sit in front of the camera and they can just run with it. But the thing that you need to have are those two anchors, right? At the beginning, at the very end. Make sure you know that once you sit down to do or stand up in front of the camera to do that. Because without it, either you're lost when you start the thing, or when you get to the very end, they're lost. They don't know, you're losing them. There's no continuity in the promotion that you're doing. So that in general is the content, is the creation part of the video that I wanted to talk about. The tools, couple of the tools that I'll introduce to you today will help you do other things if you don't feel like doing the face to camera or sort of the teaching type of thing that I just explained to you here. Maybe you're camera shy, you're not ready for it yet, or maybe the way your content is, your subject matter doesn't fit that. Most importantly, maybe you have this insight knowledge that your clients, your potential clients, therefore that client avatar, does not like it, right? For whatever reason. I don't know what field you're in, but it is possible that some category of people don't like this type of video. They don't like to see you talk. They would rather look at a slide deck, right? Bunch of slides that you run through. It's possible. I don't know, right? It is very possible that could be the case. Maybe in academia they would much rather look at the slides. Who knows? But so that is possible, right? That is a possibility, and you got to be prepared for that. There are many tools that allow you to do that. If you have no tools whatsoever, you can just start screen recording your computer and running through slides and talking over them, right? It's as simple as that. My whole goal for today is I want you to leave this session, or if you're watching the video after the fact, after watching the video, I want you to feel inspired to go start putting content out there. That's the video content, right? That's the whole. If I don't achieve anything else, I hope to break some myths. I hope to open this window for you to look at it and go, okay, this isn't that difficult. Let me try this. Let's see what it looks like, right? If you're in your Toastmasters club, when you're giving a speech, when you're doing a table topic, whatever it may be, make sure the host is recording it and then ask for that recording. It's that simple. You've got a piece of content that can go on YouTube. It's your own content, right? You just spoke it. So you have the opportunity to have it recorded, and then comes the editing part, right? Because maybe it has the too much of an introduction or something at the end that you need to edit. So that does come into effect, and that's exactly why we're going to go into this next section of editing, where I try and introduce you to some free tools, and then I'll give you the names of some more advanced tools that you can play with later. I don't suggest, if you haven't done anything before, I don't suggest you start with an advanced tool, because you'll feel completely lost, and then that defies the point, right? Okay, editing. So editing, the first thing you got to look at is what platform you're editing on, right? So do you just have a mobile device, for example, only have your phone? Or do you have a tablet, like an iPad or whatever kind of tablet? Or do you have a laptop or a desktop computer? How strong is that laptop or desktop computer? So these are the very first questions you have to answer for yourself to then be able to pick the right tool, right? So if you don't, if you cannot, if I give you a tool right now and you're not on the right platform, then that tool obviously doesn't work for you, right? Today, we're very lucky that our phones, most of our phones are beefy enough, they're powerful enough that they can handle pretty much very complex editing in the palm of your hand. Like, this is, if you have an iPad, for example, there is almost nothing that you cannot achieve in terms of video editing on an iPad versus that you could do on a computer. But a computer, if you have a powerful enough computer, is obviously better. You can do longer videos, you can do editing, and then when you export it, that sort of rendering process is what will take forever if you're on an old computer, right? I remember my old laptop years ago, it would take 14 hours to render a 5-minute piece of footage, right? And it's just insane. And then the thing is, you can't do anything else on the computer while it's rendering, because everything is going to glitch, right? But on your phone, so I'm going to give you some sample software that you can use, apps that you can use on your phone to just start playing, if that's all you have. So again, when you're looking at your phone, depending on what platform you're on, whether you're on an Android or an Apple iPhone, it makes a difference, right? So Apple has the iMovie product that on all three platforms, whether you're on a laptop, on a phone, or on a tablet, works really well. It's free. At least that there is a free version. To all of these things have a free version, right? And then you can go with that. There's one that I found that's really nice. I use an Android phone. There's one that I found. It's called KineMaster. So it's KINE Master. These I don't want to get into these tools too much because depending on when somebody's watching this video, those tools might be out of date and there might be better tools, right? The point is you're using it to edit. But this tool, for example, this KineMaster tool, you can do so many really cool stuff with it. That's just unbelievable, right? Right at the get-go, it asks you, where are you producing this video for, right? Because the aspect ratio is different. If you're doing it for Instagram, for example, versus YouTube versus other platforms, if you're doing it for TikTok, all of these are different type of aspect ratios, meaning that the ratio between the width of the video and the height of the video are different depending on where you produce it for. So that's one that you can look at just to get a feel for it. All video editing software, almost all, I think all video editing software basically gives you a storyline at the bottom, right? You or a storyboard, whatever you want to call it. And then you can cut and you can splice it. You can put images on there. You can do video effects to different parts of it, different clips of it. And you can play around with the audio as well, right? You could put, you know, a soundtrack, for example, underneath the audio track that you're speaking. One of the things we ended up doing, we've ended up doing with some clients that didn't have proper sound equipment. For example, if you don't have a microphone and your video camera ends up being across the room, it doesn't pick up your voice very well. So what you could do, a trick is you can have your phone sitting right beside you outside of the frame and record the audio and then take the audio from the phone and put it with the video. A little bit more of a complex editing concept, but it's not hard. The point is you don't have to go out and spend hundreds of dollars on equipment in order to get started. You can do it right now. You don't need to say, oh, this doesn't sound great, I can't do this. There are various ways that you can tackle this problem. One tip, again, based on experience, is get the audio right. Okay, so you don't want, the video could be done in 4K, but meaning very high quality, but if your audio is not good, people are distracted, right? It's very hard, if you pay attention, it's very hard to watch a video that has bad audio. We tend to get tired and then we just let go of it, right? So that's one of the things to keep in mind. So that the trick with the iPhone or whatever phone you have, picking up the audio is for that reason. There are many tools there now that are doing some really cool stuff when it comes to video editing. Or video creation for that matter, if you just do a search online for these things, you'll find a lot of them. I want to show you one in particular that just blew me away when I saw it. I couldn't believe it. And this was when I had a real estate client that wanted to do advertising on Facebook and did not have the budget to go out and shoot a video properly and bring it in. And we had to do it really quickly. I came across this software at that point in time. I'm going to share my screen. Hopefully you can see my screen. Yes? Thumbs up, somebody? Yes. Okay. All right. So this thing is called Design AI. And it's called AI because of artificial intelligence. What it basically does is price-wise, I can't remember exactly how much it is. You can go check it out, but the price is per use, right? So you buy like 20 videos or something from them, and then you start making it. There isn't an ongoing fee. You just purchase whatever you want to use. They give you a break if you buy a bunch of them, right? But It's simple. It's very simple in the sense that, you know, you just, this is the project. If I click on it, right, it's going to start a new project. What I would do is I just give it a name, for example, and then pick a end screen message, you know, maybe visit us or don't miss it if it's for an event, for example, right? Then all you do is you type a script in here. Let me grab a script real quick of something. So what's a script? It could just be a simple blog article that you wrote, for example, right? It could be anything. It could be anything that you want to make into, you want to make it into the video. So this is a video contest that we're launching for ITD actually. And Ella is on here and she's like, oh, I didn't know about that, which is interesting for her, hopefully. So what I'm going to do is, this is the script is copied right now, and I'm going to paste it in here. All right. So it's processing, and this little arrow here will light up once the processing has been done. What this does, and what's amazing, is it's going to, the AI part of this, it's going to look at your script and choose what images, what clips, and what not to include based on your industry. And then you can go in there and edit it, which I find absolutely fascinating, right? So you don't have to go in and look for stuff and figure out what to add and what to not add. But maybe I should have used a little bit of a shorter script here. I don't know. Let me take out. Let's take out some stuff here and see if it'll work, because I want to show you guys. All right. Well, we'll wait. We'll wait until this loads. I'll show you something else until it does that. But basically, it goes to the next screen, and then it will have everything in there laid out, and you can change the length of each clip. You can put images on there. You can put your own images on there, and you can change the audio of the voiceover, right? So it's automatic voiceover, right? So it's computer reading it, but you have different voice actors. Oh, I see what's happening here. My script is too long. You see that, you guys? It says 1690 out of 1500. So I'm going to check. I'm going to take out, of course, this is no longer going to make sense, but the video is not going to make sense, but we'll see. Yeah, so there we go. And if I click next on here, I think it asks me what my industry is. Yeah, it says, please select your industry. So I'm going to pick education. All right, and then we'll click next. It asks me for the aspect ratio that I was telling you guys before, right? So usually you would do 16:9 if you're just doing a regular video for most platforms. However, if you're doing a regular Instagram post, it would be 1:1. If you're doing 1:1, sorry. If you're doing a story, it would be 9:16, and I don't know what 4:5 is. I'm not sure. Select color. You could pick a different color for the theme. Then you click next. Then it's asking me to give a general idea of what I want. Do I want it to be bold, calming, all these various things that you have on here. I'm gonna choose. It's already selected inspiring, and I like that. I'm gonna go with it. So we'll click on next. What language do I want it in? So I could have a different language, and then the voiceover, right? So there's a whole bunch of different voices that we could choose in here. I'm just gonna choose one, and I'm not sharing my my audio, so you guys would not be able to hear it, but it just basically has that if I can click on this speaker, it would play the voiceover, so I could listen to the sample and see what it sounds like. Then you click next. It's going to do some work, and your video is basically there at that point in time. If you don't want to make modifications, you could download it. However, I'm sure most people would want to go in and modify it. But the point is, the backbone of the video is there without not that much effort. I mean, yeah, you got to put some effort in there, but this is just so easy now, right? The AI does very interesting work. So you're going to hopefully see a good demonstration of that based on what was written there. But I don't know. We're doing this live. So there might be some surprises there. We'll see what it shows me. But the good thing is you have the ability to go in there and change things, right? You could change things around. So you could see here, this is the storyboard, the timeline that I was telling you about, right? So if I click play, it's probably gonna play the audio as well. So I don't know what it will sound like. I'll just play it really briefly and I'll stop it.
Take a look at this. I'm going to make it a post to our website. The viewer will then send an email from Student Services with a link to the site to all students and alumni. Title: Spring 2021 Video Contest Announcement.
Anyways, you guys get the picture, right? So what you can do is you can select the clips, right? So let's say, for example, that I don't like that clip with the calendar, right? So what I can do is I can select this, I can delete it, I can make it shorter, I can make it longer, I can replace it with something. Because it knows it has to do with date, it's giving me all kinds of date stuff. See that out here? So I have all these choices, or I can put something else. I can upload something that I want. I can, you can play with transitions, you can play with the text, you can change the audio. All these options are up here. Once you're done, you basically download it. And it will give you an MP4 file that you can upload to whatever place that you want to upload it to. So this is one of the tools. I just wanted to share it with you. You guys know I don't promote various software and tools like that. The only reason I'm giving you this one is to show you that even if you're familiar with video, like to me, I've done video stuff for a long time. It's surprising how far they've come in terms of technology and the direction in which it's moving to. This AI element of it, how it chooses clips based on the words that I've given it and the sort of the theme that I give it is fascinating to me. And I'm sure this is just the beginning. It's just going to get better. Very, very affordable, right? I can't remember exactly what here. You guys can go check out the pricing, and we don't need to do it now, but it's affordable. It's not an expensive thing. One of the tool I wanted to oh, okay, hold on.
There is a couple of questions here related to DaVinci. Can you change the voice? I mean, after you have done what you did, can you change the voice? And the other one is, can you give an example of transition?
Yeah, so for the voice, are we talking about this tool, or is this a general
question? In this tool.
In this tool, yeah. So you go to audio, and then you can change the music. You can upload your own music, and I'm sure you can change the voiceover somewhere too. Yeah, I mean, worst case scenario, you hit back and you go choose the other voices that you wanted. It's really not the, yeah, for sure.
Or her own voice, or
your own voice. Yeah, you can upload. You can definitely upload your own voice on there and use it. That's definitely possible.
There is a question that I missed.
Transitions.
Yes.
Yeah. So you see these. Is the question what are transitions, or what's the question?
An example of transitions.
I understand, but is it okay? So let me just go.
An example of transition here.
Yeah. So this thing right here that says T, that's a transition. Okay, and these things are transitions that I could drop in there instead of that. So instead of, like, you know, the transition could be a fade, or it could be a star shaped, or it could be any of these things. We could delete this and then drag and drop one of those in here instead, and it would have that transition instead. So you would change it. And in any other video editing software that you use, it's kind of the same sort of thing. You have clip 1, you have clip 2, and then you put a transition in the middle, and it makes it transition nicely from one to another, whether it's a picture or a video clip. The same is true about audio. If you're going from, if you've got two different audio clips and one ends and another one starts, you can do it in a way where one kind of fades out and the other one fades in as the other one's fading out. So these are a little bit more advanced type of video editing techniques and whatnot that you can get into. But yeah, that's what a transition is. Is there anything else to do with these things?
The other one was before, and what happened if you do a video on Facebook? How can you edit it? Facebook Live, to be exact.
Facebook Live. I think Facebook has a built-in editor, just like YouTube does, but those are very, very limited. They're like, you can crop it basically, you can change the ends, you can maybe put a transcript on it, right? It doesn't give you a lot of flexibility. I believe you can download the video, take it into an editing software, edit it, and then upload it. However, it's no longer that live video, right? The live videos have comments on it, have reactions on there, have all kinds of stuff that people have basically people have interacted with it when it was live. If you download it, you edit it, you upload it again, it no longer has those things that were attached to it. So I don't know if that's important or not, but within Facebook, same is, like I said, true with YouTube. You have some limiting abilities when it comes to the videos that have already been posted. You can click on edit and you should be able to edit them a little bit.
Yeah, there is another one is, can you add or save your branding?
Can you add? Yeah, so you can add a logo. I just saw, you see how it says logo right here? So you could add a logo if you're talking about this in particular. If it's anything else, absolutely. You bring in your logo into the library of whatever video editing tool you're using, and then you just drag and drop it on top of it's layers. If you're familiar with a tool like Photoshop, for example, and how various the image has various layers, the video is the same way. It will have layers, and you can put it as an additional layer on top of your video. You can have it there for throughout the video or just a portion of it, depending on what you want to do and how you want to do it. That's even possible on the little mobile apps editing tools. That almost all of these things are available on those things as well. This particular tool to me is just unique and cool in that it decides automatically what to put in there for you, and the video looks good even without you touching it. I mean, looks good, I mean, that's relative, right? But it's decent enough to be able to use it. I see a question about YouTube branding. YouTube editing. YouTube editing is the same way. You click on edit, it has very limited functionality. I don't ever use these editing tools that are already on the platform unless I have to. They're cumbersome, it's difficult to use. If you've done something live and it's up there already, you kind of have to, because like I said, you don't want the views to go away. You don't want the interactions to go away. But if you have a choice, download it, edit it in some software that you're comfortable with, and then upload it. So what I did not mention, and I should have before going to this tool, if you're on a Windows computer, you can download Windows Movie Maker for free. Play with it. It will give you enough of tools that that you need to be able to move forward. On a Mac, iMovie is great. You can use iMovie on a iPad, same thing. There's also Pinnacle. Pinnacle is an easy, relatively easy software to use if you have a tablet. If you get Pinnacle Pro, for example, for an iPad, I remember my daughter 2 years ago, she was given an iPad through school. She did some really, really nice videos just with her iPad. It was incredible, right? I mean, this is like, there's not even a mouse involved, right? She's just touching on screen, dragging, dropping things, and it's done. Some social platforms like TikTok, for example, you actually can edit your video quite well on the platform itself. So the tools are there. You just got to start playing with it and get comfortable with whatever tool that you prefer. One other online tool I want to show you is this thing called Speechello, I guess. This is all about voiceover, right? So if you can't afford to hire a voiceover artist, which I really recommend you do if you can, because it gives your video a lot more of depth and more relatable, right? So voiceover actors have experience doing that stuff, and they're not unreasonable. You can find decently priced voiceover actors. However, if you wanted to use an online tool, there's this thing has a lot of different voices in different languages that you could, you wanted to do something in, I don't know, Hindi, you wanted to do it in Korean, you could. It's all kinds of them that you can use and put it. So what you do is you paste your text in here, you select your voiceover, and then once you preview it, once you're done, you download the voiceover. Once you download the voiceover, you have an audio file. You use the audio file in your editing software in order to and then you put it together, right? If you wanted to have music and whatnot on top of it, you could do that as well. Just remember, if this is very important, if you end up using music on your videos, the music, you have to have the rights to the music. So you have to go look for royalty-free music. The same is true with images, right? You have to go search for royalty-free images if you use them in your designs. And there are some free ones. Because it's called royalty free doesn't obviously mean it's free. You have to pay for it. You can buy a bunch for a certain amount of money, and then you can use them. If you use tools like what I showed you just now online, these things already have the royalty free. Like by basically when you purchase the software or the rights to use the software, you're already purchasing the rights to use the music and the images and the clips and everything that they're giving you. So you don't have to worry about that. However, if you, I remember this is almost 10 years ago, we had music playing in the background while my client was doing something, and YouTube would mute the video completely, right? This is at the beginning of when they started cracking down on these things, and it was just ridiculous. Sometimes it's muted in some countries, and YouTube will come up and give you a message. It will say your video, the audio of your video will not play in Germany, for example, due to rights, due to music rights. And then, because you haven't paid for it, or you can then upload a document that says, yes, I have purchased the rights to use this. So that's something to definitely be careful with when you're doing the production. Do you guys want to take a 5-minute break and then come back and go through the rest? Yes? Okay, I have one yes. That's enough for me to say yes. All right, let's come back in 5 minutes though, because I really want to open this up to people who are on the call and see what issues they have. And also we'll be right back. We just had about subtitles.
I have just actually started the recording again because I was holding off on that.
Let me do it right now. So I'll start with that. So
okay,
can I start?
So, yeah, give me a second. So you're going to be doing that one. So let's get back to return with Jamak.
Thank you very much. So one of the questions that has been mentioned in chat, and it's very important, is what about a transcription? Is there a tool that does transcription for us automatically? Some of the platforms, such as YouTube, automatically do that. They've been doing it for a while now, and it's the quality is that whatever the quality is, it keeps on getting better. Independently, there is a tool called Otter AI. So it's OTTER.ai. This tool is ahead of the game, I think. At least in my opinion, you can get a free version, and then you can get a upgraded version for different things, and it integrates in many different things. Zoom, for example, since many of us use Zoom, automatically has the integration with Utter. I'm not sure if it's included in the free version or not, but in the paid version, you can go turn it on in the settings. And what that would do is you can have it either do a live transcription as you're going along. So you'll have like a little subtitle going underneath everybody who speaks. Google Meet, by the way, does exactly the same thing for a live conversation. You'll have a subtitle going across your screen. But then the thing with Zoom is after the fact, if you're recording, a recording of your transcript will also be available that you can download. And I think it's very valuable, especially for business meetings, because it's like a full minutes of meeting where you can search for keywords, and then it has the minutes, the actual timeline of the video right beside it. So you could go to that timestamp of the video and see what it was that we were talking about. But that's kind of a we're moving away from sort of the topic of video, so we better get back into the main topic of the workshop, which is the video. So what's the next step, right? We've done it, we've got our video now. The next step is publication, right? Publicizing it, or posting it somewhere, if you will. There are a lot of video sites available, video hosting sites available that you can post your video on. There are some primary ones that you should definitely post onto, and I'm going to go over those. The rest of them you're free to go look for and find. There are also tools that you pay for. You upload your video and it automatically posts it to all of the ones that they have. The last time I checked, which was a couple of years ago, one of these tools that I looked at would upload it to 70 different websites. So there are a lot of them, right? This is a bit of a SEO trick, if you will, because your video being posted to many different sites, along with a link, which is something that I'll mention as we go through right now, will cause you to have backlinks to the website, which if you go back and watch the video I did on SEO, you'll remember that that's important. That will increase your SEO, the SEO value of your site. However, let's focus on the ones that are important. Top of the line is YouTube. Obviously, YouTube is integrated. It is a Google product. Therefore, it's very important when it comes to search, right? So people searching for something, YouTube or Google automatically gives them YouTube results. So it's very important that your video lives on YouTube, and it's very important that you include your keywords in the description of the video, right? So when you write the description for the video, make sure, again, going back to one of these workshops that we did, probably the second or third or something, we talked about keyword research. We talked about looking up the keywords that are important, right? You need to have a list of those. That's what you use. But always remember, you're writing for a human being first, then a bot, right? So that you don't keyword stuff your thing to the point where you can't read it and people go, what is this? And it's very unattractive, right? So write it for a human being, make sure the keywords are in there. Here's an important thing that a lot of people miss. Include a link in your description, okay? Include a link to your website or your blog in your description. I will elaborate on this in a minute. Let me just go through these different platforms, and then I'll come back and tell you sort of a best practice that I've been using, and I suggest to people to use. The next one on the list is Facebook. Facebook is important. Do not take the YouTube link from Facebook, from YouTube, and post it onto Facebook. The algorithms is set in such way that the views that you get on Facebook to a YouTube video are a lot lower than if you post it as a native Facebook video. You can very, very easily test this. This isn't, you know, it's very easy. You take the same exact video, put it up on YouTube and put it up on Facebook, grab the YouTube link and post it on Facebook as well, and give it a week and see which one gets more hits. Let me preface this by saying, if you're doing this on a Facebook page, you may not see any results. Okay, because now you're entering a whole different discussion. Facebook pages are built for businesses, and Facebook wants to get paid before they give you views, right? So their whole business strategy is advertising when it comes to businesses. So if you're doing the experiment, you can see the results of the experiment by posting it on your own personal Facebook, not on a business page, right? So because it won't show. If you do what I just told you on a business page that doesn't really have a lot of traction anyway, you're not going to see much views on either one, whether it's a link posted to YouTube or a native Facebook video. Although I think it would still, the Facebook video would get more hits, but you probably won't see that much of a difference. However, if you post it on your own Facebook, on your own timeline, you will see what I'm talking about. The number of views will go, they're very different very quickly. The next one on my list is Vimeo. Vimeo is also popular. It's getting more and more popular as a video hosting platform. It doesn't have all the search stuff in it, but it has some cool features in terms of security and whatnot. And there are a lot of people who don't want their content on Google. I won't comment on that, nor Facebook. So those are the two big sort of companies, and there are a lot of people who don't want their content on there for a variety of reasons. Vimeo is an alternative that's getting pretty big. So and it's been big. It's not like it's just getting big. So you could post your video on there and then have the link on wherever else you want. And then you have LinkedIn. LinkedIn again is very, very strong. My hunch, I haven't tested this, but my hunch is the same is true. If you take your actual MP4 and upload it to LinkedIn as a LinkedIn video versus putting a link to a YouTube video on LinkedIn, I think it will probably have more hits. I don't know. I've never tested this, but it just makes sense that it would have more hits. You can try it, and then if you get some results, let me know. Test the two different scenarios. But LinkedIn accepts, the point is LinkedIn accepts videos. You can upload videos right to LinkedIn and native to LinkedIn, and then start sharing it and do whatever you want on there with it. And then of course you have the other ones, right? You have you have Instagram, which I don't start with that because Instagram wasn't designed for video. It migrated to video. It started with 30-second videos, then it went to 1-minute videos, and then we had the IGTV, which allows you to put a bigger, longer video on there. And then you have the, what are they called? The Reels, right? The Reels is basically an imitation of TikTok and Snapchat, right? So the point is you're gonna have something new come out every day, right? And my goal with these workshops has been to give you evergreen content. So regardless of when you look at it, it still works while this is still the industry, right? So regardless of what the platform is, content is what's important. Upload your content. If your content is good content, people will interact with it. People will interact with it. If the content is good, again, their lives will be better as a result of it if they're the right audience, and then they will share that content. So your platform will grow and grow as you move forward. So it doesn't matter what the next new hot thing that comes out is. If you have a content creation schedule, you have the video, you just upload it to the new place with whatever their limitations and restrictions and whatever is, right? So I don't want to spend a lot of time on Instagram. You guys know about it, and if you don't, you can go look it up, right? If you do use Instagram and you have longer, like we talked about, 5 to 7 minute, for example, pieces of content that goes on IGTV, you can cut it, the pieces smaller to 1 minute pieces and such, and use those pieces as teasers to get them to the IGTV video and then to whatever link you want to go to, right? Because it doesn't allow you to have a big thing, right? So you can take pieces of it as like a showcase, basically, of this speech, of this talk, of this lesson that you've given, and use those as the 1 minute or 30-second, or if it's a reel, it's even shorter than that, or stories, and have them come watch the full video. All right, so best practices. This is what I suggest. Once you've shot your video, again, this is if you've followed along with everything that we've been talking about. I'm assuming you have all this stuff in place, right? Once you've created your content, you go to your WordPress website, your blog, right? And you create a post. You take the transcript of your video and put it in the post as a blog post. You clean up the English because the spoken word is not the same as what you're writing, right? You clean it up so it sounds decent, right? And then the video that you've uploaded to YouTube, you take the embed code, right? So you click on share and then you have embed there. You copy the code, you take that and you put it in your blog post. All right. So what ends up happening is you have a blog post that has the written content plus your video, which is hosted on YouTube, is in the blog post as well. And you end up with a link off of your website, right? So it will be domainname.ca, for example, / whatever it is, right? The content. You take that link and you start to publicize that link. So when we go into promotion, which is the next item on my list, it's that link that you promote versus just the YouTube video or just the Facebook. Obviously, like I said already, if you're on Facebook, when we talk about social media strategies, we will talk about this, right? If you happen to be on Facebook, you take you want to have the video on Facebook, but maybe you include the link to your article as well, right? So that's how you promote it, and we'll go over the promotion in just 1 second here. So this way, what happens is that one video that you created now sits on multiple video hosting platforms, which are social media platforms as well. And you also have a link related to that content that you created on your website. Remember, on your website, you also have all the other stuff that we talked about. You have a lead generation mechanism on your website, right? So when they're on that article, they like the content that you've shared. The option for them to opt into your mailing list, for example, is right there. They're seeing the teaser, and if you've done that well enough, they become a lead for you and they go into your marketing funnel from that. So you can see how all of these things start to connect with each other. The various pieces of puzzle that you've put together now start to come together, right? All right. So stepping over to the promotion, the most important, effective promotion technique, if you've done it and if you're sort of a little bit more mature in this game, if it's been a little while, if you're not brand new doing this, is your email list. All right. YouTube has this magic thing that happens if there are over 300 hits on the video very quickly, right? It pushes it forward somehow, right? I've seen it happen. It's crazy, right? So and that's only achievable if you have an existing audience, right? So if you take a video and you do what I just said with the link and you write a little email preview to what this video is, and you send this to your email list with the link to the website, the link that I talked to you about, the article link, not the YouTube link, the article link, right? what just happens when you do that is your audience, you're giving them more food for thought, you're nourishing your audience because it's good content, as we talked about. Your audience is happy, your email list people are happy because they're getting good content. And then once they click on it and go watch the video, they're actually helping you promote that video because the hits go up really, really fast, a lot faster than they would if people were just watching it, right? And you can then what happens is if they start sharing your email, if they forward your email onwards to their friends, you probably end up getting more subscribers as well, both on your YouTube channel and on your website in terms of your mailing list. So it's, again, it's like a circle. You keep nourishing your audience on your mailing list, and then you keep bringing new ones on board as you do this type of promotion. The next obvious one is social, right? Social media. And that's, we have a whole session dedicated to that, though we don't need to go into that. But basically, once you've produced that piece of content, then let's say if you've decided you're doing one video per week, for example, if you're on Instagram, you want to spend that week posting pictures that are related to that video and send people to that article, right? That, again, that article, remember the link that we talked about that resides on your website? You post pictures that are related to that content and you send people to that link in order to go and read about it more or watch the entire video, you know, to get the picture, right? You use social in that way, and then depending on whatever the social platform is, the strategy is a little bit different, but that's a topic that we'll discuss later. And then, of course, the last one, which is a favorite of mine, but it requires money, is advertising, right? So once you've created your content, if you want a lot of eyeballs on your video, you throw some money at it, right? Again, depending on your Facebook advertising, you can get a lot of eyeballs, relevant eyeballs on your videos with not that much money, right? And I think I've done a session on Facebook at advertising specifically. I honestly don't know where the video is, where the link is, because it wasn't for the district, it was for the region. I did it with Sandra. She has the video. I don't know where it is, but if you guys find it, that's a great, that I went into depth about Facebook advertising, Instagram advertising, right? So that is a great tool if you have the funds, right? If you have the funds, that is a great way to go do that. So if you, let's talk about an example. Let's say you have a $400 budget per month for advertising, and you decide to do one video a week. Then you could easily throw $100 at each video and you will see results, right? Because these are new people that are coming and viewing your videos. So that's all I wanted to talk about in terms of promotion. Lastly, but of course not least, maybe the most important thing is analytics, is looking at your videos. All of these platforms will give you analytics, right? You can look at the statistics. Who's watching my video? How often are they watching it? How long are they watching it for? You can see when someone stopped. Majority of people stopped watching your video, right? So if you see that majority of people, you know, you can see there's like graphs, right? It starts here and then there's a sharp drop at 2 minutes. I suggest you go and see what you said at 2 minutes. You know, that sort of people dropping off gradually is a normal thing. But if there's a sharp drop at something, that's telling you that you lost your audience due to something you said or something you did. Maybe you picked your nose or something. I don't know. Whatever you did caused them to drop off suddenly, right? That's an issue. That's how we learn, right? We go back and we look at what people did, because there's no other way. We don't know how people interact with our videos, right? But that's one way you can look at the analytics. Facebook gives you analytics, YouTube gives you analytics, and those are the two most important ones you want to deal with. If you're using it, as I said, to send it to your email list, I would do it where, just so you can understand your audience better, I would have a little bit of a delay between when I send the email out and when I start promoting it on social media, because then my analytics will be reflective of my audience first, and I can see what the people on my email list are doing, if they like the content, if they don't like the content. And then I'll wait a little bit to give them a chance to see it. Because remember, again, going back to one of the previous sessions, you're going to be able to see how many people opened your email, how many people clicked on the link, right? So you can see I emailed 1,000 people, for example, right? 200 of them opened the email. Out of those 200, 100 of them clicked on the link, right? And then I go over to YouTube and I only have 17 views, for example, right? That means only 17 people, when they landed on my blog post, clicked play on the YouTube video, right? What does that tell me? That tells me the copy, the words that I've written on my article are not causing people to click on the video and see it. So my improving my statistics, my analytics will tell me that I got to write better copy. If it was a step before that, if only 2% of people opened my email, that means I need to make my copywriting skills of the subject line of the email better, because they see the subject, they're not interested in the email, they won't open it up. You go a step further, they read the email, they're not clicking through to the blog post, right? Because again, remember, you can see the analytics of that through Google Analytics, right? You can see what people are doing on your website. So if they didn't click on the link, then the copy of my email wasn't good copy, right? You go one step further, they clicked on the link, but they didn't, like I said, click on the video, you know, the copy of the article or the subject matter wasn't interesting enough. Then you look at the analytics of the video and see how long did they watch it for, and you make conclusions based on that. And last but not least, you look at the conversion rate, overall conversion rate, meaning, remember at the beginning of this, when I was talking about creation, I said you need to have a call to action. Whatever that call to action was, right? You said, for example, subscribe to my email list or whatever, for example, right? You look and see how many subscribers you gained out of this email that you sent, right? If you sent the email to 1,000 people and you ended up with 1 subscriber, that means you have 0.1 conversion rate, 0.1% conversion rate, right? If I did my math right in my head. So that's the game, right? What you do is you try to increase these conversion rates at every step. That's literally the game, right? There is no magic bullet here with marketing and advertising. You try different things, you watch your numbers, the thing that works, you do more of, and you keep making it better. You do tests. You test A versus B. Whichever works better, you do that, the more of that. And then this way your conversion keeps on increasing and increasing as you move forward. All right, with that, I talked longer than I wanted to, but I'm going to stop and open it up. Questions.
There is a question from Ray, I think.
Yeah,
Is
I
that you
like
want
that
to-
question.
I loved it.
I really like that question. So the question is, will you the difference between short videos and long videos? It depends 100% on your audience and the client avatar work that you've done. A person like me, for example, I am a big fan of long form content. I watch and listen to podcasts that are 5 hours long, right? But I'm not your typical person, maybe, right? There are people who after watching 30 seconds or a minute of something, they're bored. And there are things that I can't stand for even 10 seconds, right? Like I can't watch it. But it depends on your audience, number one. Number two, it depends on your content, right? So if your content is engaging content, if you have people that are more likely to listen to audiobooks, for example, if there are people who can sit down with a good book for 5 hours, they're a lot more likely to sit there and be able to listen to you for a long amount of time doing something on video, versus people who just don't have that kind of patience. They're just like go, right? There's nothing wrong with it, right? There's just absolutely nothing wrong with it. Right now, the younger generation, I've watched a lot of them watch videos on 1.5, 2 times speed, right? All the time. It's just very fast, right? So they save time that way, but it's still long form content. So the short answer to your question is it depends on your audience and you got to test it. And the test doesn't come down to which had more views. The test comes down to which had better conversion in terms of customers, right? It doesn't matter if you have 100 people watching your video. It matters if one of them became a customer, right? If you're a consultant, for example, that charges $20,000 for a client, then that one person that came through is going to make you a lot more money and than if you have 20,000 people watching and doing nothing on there, right? So that's why that client avatar work is very important. What happens is if your client avatar is the person who watches long form content, what ends up happening is something very, very valuable. The wrong person will not be on your channel, right? The right person will be more likely to stay, the wrong people will fall off, which is exactly what you want, because the more targeted, the more specific these people are, the less resources you spend nourishing them. And resources could be your time, money, and whatever else. So again, goes back to do that avatar work well.
Format for the recording. So the Facebook, Instagram session that you recorded in June was sent over to me by, it was sent over to me to edit. And of course, at the time I was editing in iMovie on my old laptop, which means that I had very, very limited editing ability for it. And because it was recorded mostly in gallery view, we have your video while you're giving your talk. Everybody else is being quiet, but because people are jumping in, turning their video on, turning their video off, your video is going up here and then over there and then over there and then up there and everything. So when I tried to edit it using iMovie, I had to basically cut every single time your video moved and then find your video again on the edit. So that was that's an important thing to think about, and a thing to mention is that you need to set up your shooting space. You need to make sure that you're only focused on the presenter or the presenters that you're wanting to make sure you're captured in your video when you're doing this stuff live. And if anybody is wanting to be recorded and included in that, they also want to make sure that the background behind them is clear and basically easy to edit. So that was a thought that I had. What did you have thoughts about that kind of recording though, being translated into a podcast when the editing is just that?
All right. Okay. So I'll answer that, but let me preface it by this. So what I'm hearing Ray say, and it's very important, is plan well in advance. Whether you're doing it in Zoom, however you're doing it, plan it in advance so you know exactly what you need to do in order to capture what you want to end up capturing. All right, podcasts are, I'm passionate about podcasts. I love them, right? I absolutely love podcasts because again, it's a whole different, it's something I didn't talk about today because I knew if I start going down that rabbit hole, this is going to be a 4-hour long session, right? But your video, another form of content that comes out of it is a podcast. Podcasts are basically audio. You're serving your audience audio. They can listen to it in their car. They can listen to it while they jog. They can listen to it while they clean the house, do whatever, right? The posting podcast is not that difficult. There's a system that you go through. WordPress has a plugin that allows you to do that if you want to do it on WordPress. And then you publish it to podcasting platforms on, whether it's through the Apple platform or various other ones such as Spotify and whatnot that there are. But here's the thing. If they don't need to look at your face, right? If you're not doing screen sharing, if you're not doing stuff like that, why not have it as a podcast, right? Why not have it as both? You have the video there. I mean, YouTube, at least the paid version of YouTube, allows you to now watch a video on YouTube as a podcast. I believe, if I'm not mistaken, Netflix even did that recently during this pandemic times. You can go listen to a movie, basically, right? You can put your phone in your pocket and then just listen to the show in the background. So 100%, I am a big fan of podcasts. I think any video, if you plan it properly, again, can be a podcast. Even audiobooks, when you listen to them, as long as it has some sort of like a PDF, for example, that comes alongside of it, then that's fine, because you can say, if you want to see this chart that I just talked about, check out the PDF, go to page such and such on the PDF. So yeah, 100%, I like the idea of podcasts, but podcast is a different, it's something that needs a little bit more in-depth attention. If you decide to go for it and do it, they don't have to be costly. People make this assumption that it's going to cost a lot of money to do that. It doesn't. You can do it. You can do it pretty cheap without much money. All right, what else do we have here? Where do we access analytics? So it depends on where you are. If you're on whatever platform you're in, there's some sort of a button that says either statistics, analytics, something like that. You can do it on Instagram, for example. If you don't have if your Instagram account is not a business account, which is equivalent to having a Facebook page versus a personal Facebook account, it doesn't give you analytics. It only gives you analytics if you have a business account. For YouTube, when you go into your studio and you look at each video individually, there's a button there that allows you to look at the statistics for that video, and that's where you look at it. Facebook has a similar thing for each one of the videos. You go in there and you can see, how long people watched it, what was the demographic. Each one of them gives it to you a little bit differently, but essentially they're pretty much the same sort of data. And of course, for your website, we've already talked about Google Analytics as the free tool that allows you to do that. There are other tools as well that you can install on your website and would give you that information. Also, if you're using, for your emails, if you're using whatever autoresponder, I gave you examples during that particular session, that tool will also give you analytics. It will tell you, how many people interacted with your email and how they interacted with your email. There is even a tool that I probably did not mention in our session where it was appropriate. I'll mention it here. There's a tool called, I think it's called Hotjar, if I'm not mistaken. It tells you the activity of the visitor on your website. So it will show you, like, if they went down the page, only 50% of the page, and didn't go all the way down, it will show you. So you'll be able to do a little bit more digging to see why this thing that didn't work, for example, or how can I make it better. All right, what else do I have? Do you know the way to watch videos quickly? Yes, so you can, depending on where so the question is, how do you watch videos quickly? Like I said, you can increase the speed of the video. Not every player provides you that. YouTube provides you that. Zoom playback provides you that. You just click on speed, or if there might be a gear button, you click on, then go speed, and then choose whatever speed that you want to. Last one.
That works the same for the podcast and for the reading the books, the audibles.
Absolutely.
You can put it speed it up if you want.
Yeah, speed it up. So the question I have here is, to make a video publish, could you use audio over a few still shots? Absolutely. You could just have a bunch of pictures with the audio over it, and that's a video. You could upload that to YouTube and any other one of these platforms. So the flip side of sort of this podcast question is, podcasts are traditionally done in audio only, right? There's just a microphone and somebody is speaking, or a couple of people are speaking. You could take that audio, put some images on top of it, and then that becomes a video, and you can do everything that we just talked about with that video as well. So you could flip this on its head and do it that way as well. All right, I'm done with questions here. Let me ask you a question, and everybody else who's just been quiet and I haven't had an opportunity to see their face. Some of them fell off. They're not here anymore. What, if anything, would prevent you from doing video after, like, moving forward from this point that we're in now, moving forward? What, if anything, would prevent you from doing more video?
Okay. I think I have a funny face. I get self-conscious when I'm watching myself.
Yeah. All right. So
You want to say that again with a spotlight?
Sure.
So what's stopping you, Janice?
I probably just that. And something to say.
Yeah. So the something to say part is we've already dealt with that, right?
Yeah.
So if you've gone through that stuff and you've done your content creation strategy, then you know what to say. The challenge of not being comfortable with the way you look on camera is very, very similar to hearing your own voice for the very first time. If, as Toastmasters, again, I am sure all of us have recorded our voices and then played it back and went, who is that? Do I sound like that? And start criticizing ourselves, right? Video is exactly the same way. You just kind of get used to it. You're like, whatever. Like you got to basically do one of these challenge things where you go, I'm going to do 10 videos over the next 10 weeks and just do it. Right. And what you'll find is, or at least what I've found over, and this isn't about me, with people everybody I've worked with has been the overwhelming of response of the people who watch the video cause you to push forward, right? Because you ultimately, if you come from a place of wanting to help others, then, and you're serving that right audience, those people will give you feedback. Oh, that was a great video. Thank you for sharing that. Then all of a sudden, everything else washes away, right? You're no longer worried about how am I being judged. You understand that this is what they're interested in. However, if that's too challenging, then just record your voice and stick it over a presentation, a slide deck or something like that. Get started that way, right? It takes a little bit more work to do it because you have to prepare the presentation, then you have to sit there and record it and put the thing together. It takes a little bit more work, but if you're doing it in PowerPoint, I think it automatically has a button you can press record and it allows you to do this thing, right? You end up with a video. Just do it though, right? Like you start with that and then see, okay, that's number one. Where's number two? I love what Rada did a few weeks ago. He's like, I started a challenge. I'm doing this. Like, I don't know if it was every day, every week, but he's recording videos. It's just as simple as that. Just challenge yourself that I'm going to go in and I'm going to record videos. And so what if it doesn't look great? That's my point, is like, it doesn't have to be perfect, right? You do a little bit at a time and you get better. Let me see what others have said in here. I saw the chat scroll. So not feeling ready to be consistent. That's a great point. So my response to that is, if you go back to the content creation strategy that we talked about, and I know you were here for that content creation strategy, Mariah Jane. That the frustration for me as well when I do stuff like this is I don't know what I'm going to talk about, and that's what causes the lack of consistency. It's not that we can't put aside an hour to do this once a month, for example. It's more that I don't know what I'm going to talk about next. If that's sorted out, if that content creation strategy is done, the content calendar is done, and if you've blocked off time on your calendar to do this, then I don't think it's very difficult to stay consistent. It's just a matter of And if it still is, meaning you're just so busy that you cannot fit it in, do it once a month, right? Like these workshops, for example, I committed to doing it once a month, and I knew no matter how busy I get, I can shave, an hour and a half, 2 hours, 3 hours, whatever, to prepare and do everything a month to do it. So hopefully that inspires you to try it and see what happens. Self-confidence and being judged by others. We just addressed that, right? One of the things that I remember my mom telling me as I was growing up was, people are going to talk about you no matter what you do. So just ignore them, right? It doesn't matter what you do, how good you are, how bad you are. There's going to be a group of people who love you, and there's going to be a group of people who will get jealous of you. And there's going to be a group of people who just don't like what you're saying for whatever personal reasons they have. The point is, it's their shortcomings and not yours. Whoever has any sort of opinion, it's their opinion, and it's coming because of what's going on inside of them, and not necessarily who you are and what you have going on. And one of the ways to overcome that is to publish content and never worry about reading comments online. Just ignore them completely. Make a promise to yourself that you're never going to read one single comment that's all up there on the internet. You need to develop a little bit of a thick skin to be able to deal with people's comments online, because face to face, it's very difficult to insult somebody. But online, behind the keyboard, anybody can do it. Anybody can hide behind a fake account and a keyboard. So on some platforms, you can lock comments so people can't comment on it at all. On those where you can't lock it, you can have the discipline yourself not to read the comments. Just don't worry about them. It's not about what people say. And here's another point that I would bring up for the person who's saying this. That insecurity is robbing the people who need to hear your message off of that benefit that you could bring to them, right? You could be helping so many people by sharing your story. You could be, your voice could change their lives. And by not doing that, you just stop that from happening, right? So whatever your realm is, whatever your expertise is, think about that. Think about the number of people you could be helping, but you're not because of those insecurities. And just like fear, it goes away by doing it over and over again. Just turn on the camera and publish it. Nothing's going to happen. I promise you, nothing's going to happen. All right, so there's this comment about, I still haven't come to a point where that there's a need for doing the video part of my purpose. I tend to disagree with that. I think if you have something to share, then the video is just a tool to share, right? Then what you're saying is, I'm not ready to share, which could be true, right? You're not ready to share whatever your message is. That could be true. That could be a growth thing, right? You're growing, and as you're growing, you get ready to share your message. However, again, I could sit here and say, I don't want to share this stuff because there are people who know more than I do, right? There's always going to be people who know more than you do, right? There's always going to be people who are, how do I say this? They are more grown up than you in whatever field you want to think about. They're more experienced than you, right? But then there are also people who are where you were 2 months ago, 2 years ago, right? What about those people? Your digital footprint is a representation of your growth, in my opinion. Just like your library is. If you look on your library, you look at the books that you read 5, 6 years ago, you compare them to the books that you read today, they're possibly very different because you're not the same person anymore. You're growing, right? You're growing, you're going through different life experiences, and that will cause you to consume different type of content. So I would give that a little bit more thought to see if that's actually true, or if it's some sort of something else that's preventing you from moving forward.
Yeah,
I do have one other thing to say. I don't know if this needs to be included on the video or not. I actually, Ray, wanted to challenge you to do a session on video editing for this audience, right? As a whatever guest speaker or whatever you want to call it, because I don't have the patience to go into it with this type of thing that I'm doing. It's too detailed to go into it, but I think people really could benefit from it if you pick a tool, whatever tool that's easily available to most people, meaning you don't have to purchase it, you don't have to have a gigantic computer to use it, and just spend an hour and edit one video and just go through doing different effects, different cuts, things like that. I think it would really be beneficial to people. So it's up to you if you take it or not, but there it is.
Way to put me on the spot, Jamak. Yeah, I think I could do that. I could actually do a session editing a video using iMovie or something like that. I mean, I could do it using Final Cut Pro now, but yeah, I could.
But you have it. I don't.
Exactly, and that's what I mean.
Final Cut Pro is not accessible. If we could do something where, like, even if you did iMovie, people on Windows would not have it, but in general, Windows Movie Maker would be kind of the same thing. So
yeah, well, I could do it with iMovie too. And the neat thing about iMovie I've been finding is that I've actually been editing short, like some of the videos that I posted up to my YouTube channel, I've actually just edited on my phone using iMovie.
Exactly.
And it's interesting that I'm able to do a lot of the stuff like J cuts and things like that, put images in and transitions just using the native stuff. I saw the comment come up is if I could do a video doing on PC for video editing, and I would say for that, no, because I'm a Mac person. I don't have any video editing software on the PC computer.
But I tell you what, though, who asked that question? Is it Ellie, right?
Ellie.
I think.
Yeah.
So here's the thing. Once you see how it's done, it's just the tools are in a different place in whatever software you use, right? So there's an icon for a scissor, for example. That icon lives in one place in iMovie. I use Premiere Pro, for example. I'm on a PC. It's a gigantic piece of software, but the basics are the basics, and you don't want to go beyond the basics anyway right now. It's just cut the video, put some transitions in there, maybe change the audio. That's it. Simple as that. So I think you'll benefit from that too.
And the basics of it is basically just a Gantt chart. So you're just basically building timelines into things, and you're thinking, well, this thing will fit right there, so let's put that there, and then that thing will fit right there, so you put that there. Yeah. So that's really all video editing is. And if you have a computer fast enough to do it, and when I was editing videos back in June on this laptop, a render on a 1 hour long workshop was taking 3 hours. I had to let my computer sit in the back room and just figure out how to work the edit on this laptop. And editing was really slow because it couldn't even do on time timeline screening. I would basically thumbnail everything. It was like a 1 hour video took me 8 hours to edit for some of those early ones while I was learning.
There is just one thing, okay, by the way, the DaVinci Resolve does exist as well for PC, and it is a pretty generic tool, which is free anyway.
Yes, DaVinci Resolve I used briefly in the fall on the laptop that got stolen. So yeah, it's a good editor as well. Anyway, I'm going to take myself off spotlight and I'll turn it back over to Jamak to finish his thoughts.
All right. Well, thank you. This was a great session. Hopefully you benefited from it as much as I enjoyed providing it to you. And I'll give it back to Yuri to close it.
Thank you, Jamak. I have to say that I'm always so happy and engaging what you were saying about all those things. That some of those I know, some of them I have forgotten. And but it's nice to see that the improvement of all of those. But for that, I really appreciate that work that you're doing.
Thank you for watching this video on the Toastmasters District 96 YouTube channel. Subscribe to our channel to watch replays of our volunteer-run workshops, contests, and other events that are happening in our district. Like this video to show your appreciation for the volunteers who work hard to run these events. And remember, we are all volunteers. Thank you.